Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Guys, it's been a marvelous, marvelous weekend, and we're heading into a marvelous week. I'm so excited to have my friends on Vashon and Chris from Unfiltered Longhorn talk over on the Facebook. And you know what, guys? Today, you start your Mondays, and people ask you, "How was your weekend?" And you know what? They say, "How was your weekend?" Right? And so let me ask you guys, how was your weekend?
Well, I'm gonna start off and say this, man. It was bittersweet. Wonderful
Bittersweet.
weekend. Bittersweet.
Bitter.
I
Hold
mean,
on. Bittersweet.
yeah,
Why
yeah.
bittersweet?
13 years, man. Mean, what more can I say, man? We've been waiting on this since 2009. And ironically, it was Alabama that sent us into a 13-year spin. We ended up beating Alabama in Alabama this year and have our first 12-win season since then. And man, I'm telling you, bro, it was man. I just the back of your mind, you like, man, is this going to happen? Because you always got that doubt in the back of your mind. Man, them Longhorns gonna do it to me again. Get my hopes all up, and then they're gonna blow it. But man, when they got on top of Oklahoma State, and I know we'll talk about it later, they didn't let off. But bro, it was just like just being a fan so long of the team, seeing your team accomplish their goal, what they set out to do. Sark's been talking about them all year, bro. He's been saying, I picked up on it from I think the second press conference. He called his team a championship team. Championship teams find ways to win. And I'm like, I told Simp, I said, man, you hear the way he's talking about his team? He's calling them a championship team. And I said, he believes that. I said, man, this might be a special season. And I know when we came on here, man, we was all saying, "Oh, Texas, I was like, yeah, 10-2, and I'm good. Just get to the Big 12." Steve, you said it too. We like, let's get to the Big 12 championship. And that was reasonable expectations. But guys, I'm telling you, man, Sark this team has exceeded my expectations. I'm pretty sure it's exceeded a lot of you guys' expectations. And you can tell a lot of PTSD was still in Longhorn Nation. Because even when we were scraping by earlier or in the middle of the seasons, when Malik came in, people was still kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to go off. But something happened to this team, guys. To me, the last three games, it happened after TCU. Sark got in the media, and I can tell he was pissed. He said, man, we need to be more aggressive. We need to quit playing. I don't know. We quit playing tight. And I think it was a shot to, his coordinators and his position coaches. And from ever since then, that Iowa State game, and especially that Iowa State that called us out, bro. This team has been on the money, man. I just love it, Steve. I love it, bro. Man, man, this is it. It sometimes it's still, you believe it. I woke up the other day. Usually after win, I'm feeling good. Sunday morning, going to church. Then the back of your mind, like, man, did we, But I'm telling you, bro, I'm yours, man. Hey, job
I
well
love it.
done, Longhorn.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Chris Simpkins, how was your weekend?
Man, it was great. Saturday morning, bro, it felt like honestly like Christmas. Like when you're a kid and you wake up and you just know it's gonna be a good day for you. Um, I just felt so confident that we were going to win this no matter what. I knew it wasn't going to be a close game, and I don't know, it just felt like, I think a lot of the reasons probably the culture of this team. The previous head coach Tom Herman always talked about culture, and was just like, that was like one of his first words he always said. And he tried, but it just, I don't know. It just looked like the guys, he couldn't get the guys on board with him. And then Sark comes in, and we know about Sark's past. We know the things he's gone through in his life and the demons he's had in his life. And just to see a guy like that and create the kind of culture. Tom Herman used to say, we want, was it OKG, our kind of guys. That was that acronym I always remembered him saying. And it seems like he didn't try to have those guys back or try to be likable in the locker room until that last year, during the pandemic and everything, when it felt like the whole world was falling apart. And at that point, the players know, man, you've been like this a certain way the whole time. When I hear Sark speak and I hear him speak about his team, he talks about accountability. He talks about being vulnerable, and with his history, as we know, and it's just like when you think about a team, you're just like, why is he talking about vulnerability and accountability? That's kind of deep for a football team. Man, that's true culture. You're going to have your brother's back when your brother's down, you know? Man, I saw that a lot this year, man. I
This
mean,
season
it's
was full of that, Chris. This
big
season was
time.
full of that. Mhm.
Those moments, man. And it's so weird. It's just like, as you get older, and I'm in my 40s now, and it's like, I remember I was in my early 30s when Texas won the national championship, and it's just like, you as you get older, you start seeing the kids differently. You start calling them kids. I remember watching the game Saturday, and I was at work watching it, and I was telling my partner I worked next to, was just like, man, come on, son. I was talking to one of the players, talking to my buddy and calling the player son. And he was just like, man, he goes, you are getting old, because you kind of view these kids as either your son or your nephew than you do more. And seeing those guys celebrate the way they did Saturday, seeing, those guys give the ball to Jonathan Brooks,
Yeah.
on one leg, it gives you, when you're a 40 something year old man, it gives you a different kind of feeling than when you're in your 20s, man. I mean, I didn't realize that, I was such an emotional person until Saturday, when I see Brooks sitting there, when you see Arch giving the ball, you see Connor Robertson, you see those linemen come up, bro. I was literally in tears. I'm a
That was
bartender. I
my
work in this.
favorite moment of the season, Chris.
Same.
That Jonathan, that entire interaction.
Yep.
Um, it was, obviously before the big celebration, but it was so deep. It was a thank you. It was, brother, nobody left behind. There was so much behind that. Honestly, I hadn't seen that, at least as a Texas fan, too much in our environment, at least in my time as a
Hmm.
Texas fan. It was just organic, honestly. Like, I wasn't expected, but it was like a cool little gesture. So that whole Jonathan Brooks thing, and then today on the sideline, they're showing Tashard Choice after Cedric Baxter Jr. scored a touchdown, and he's still coaching Cedric
Yeah.
Yeah.
through a touchdown.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, Sark, I got this, and I need to talk to my guy, right? And even
Yeah.
Jonathan Brooks is over there trying to celebrate with them, and they're just so plugged in. They have each other's backs in a different type of way. I've seen this happen in other UT sports,
Hmm.
right? Like,
Yeah.
when you look at the sports that have been successful, but to see it start to happen in the football program with the football team, and you see just how many people around pick up on these things. It's really, really cool. It's really, really, really cool. Folks, so just in terms of the conversation here, the reason why I asked that is because I was fired up at work today when people asked me how my weekend was, because it's different. I had a different energy coming into work today, and
Yeah,
I'm sure many of
buddy.
you watching, when you got to work with your coworkers and people asked you how your weekend was, you couldn't wait to answer that question, right? And so
Oh,
it's
for
it's
Mm.
a
real. Oh,
it's a hop, skip, and a jump right into to to all that. But now we get to
Right.
meet here, and I wanted to talk with you guys first about the game. I did, we were on cloud nine on yesterday's live as we live reacted to the playoffs, and I didn't. We talked about the game, but I didn't do the best of job that we normally do with our recaps of going through because as we always say on this channel, we always can learn anything from a game, whether it's a scrimmage or what have you, especially now that we're going to play more football. And not only are we going to go play more football, we're playing with the other three teams that form the Mount Rushmore of the 2023 season, Michigan, Alabama, and Washington. So as we have more football, there's now more for us to analyze. There's more for us to talk about. And we'll right here with the chat and everything as we're talking through it. But now we get to go into, Texas versus Oklahoma State, the actual football game, 49-21. Vashawn, I'm going to start with you, man. I mean, just overall thoughts on this football game and how Texas came out in attack mode. We jumped up there early and just some of your takeaways from the game itself.
Man, started off like we started off pretty much all year. And I'm not talking about started off fast, but I'm saying Sark has been is the I noticed this trend about Sark pretty much every game. He starts off passing to open the run up. Because teams have pretty much been loading the box all year, daring, basically trying to make us one dimensional. And it worked last year. But man, Mr. Quinn Ewers stepped up to the plate. And Steve, me and you and Simp talked about this last week. And I remember saying, and I told you guys before, I said, bro, we're gonna beat them. Remember I said that? I said about 17 to 20 points.
Yep.
And one of the reasons I said that was because one thing that I went back and looked at, when Quinn has little or no wind, he's deadly. The Alabama game, go back and check that Alabama game. I think the wind that night was 5, 2, 3 miles per hour. When Quinn is bad, when he has windy conditions, because he's a thrower, he feathers the ball. So when the wind blows, it carries his ball. But when you get Quinn in a boom, just like he did against Washington last year, 349 yards at the Texas Bowl at the Alamo. I mean, in San Antonio.
Yep.
Quinn is deadly, and that's why I was real confident. I'm like, Quinn finna shred him. But man, they came out, they start, and I love how he's doing it, Steve. They come out, they run 8 men in the box. They everybody's bringing the safety down at the last minute. I'm watching them. They have 7 in the box.
Yes,
Here
they would
comes the
walk that
safety.
safety down.
Yep.
Mhm.
They will walk that safety down, and Sark he would dial it up perfect, bro. I gotta commend him. These last 3 games, he's been dialing it up perfect. Man, Sark can just throw it out. He'll quick screen it out there, or he'll hit him with those crossers. Man, it was beautiful. And I'm telling you, Quinn, his accuracy this game was off the chain, man. I'm talking about, man, he was putting that ball placement where the receivers can catch it perfectly, man. And then he started hitting them with the run. He started running outside those tackles. He started, you know what I'm saying? He started hitting outside zone. He started hitting those quick inside zone hitters. I mean, and that's just been his trend all year, because I seen a lot of fans sometimes, even me, I got caught up. Man, he need to run the ball. He need to run the ball. No, he know what he's doing. Stark know what he's doing. He said, you know what I'm saying? Let's just be quiet. Let him call his game.
Yeah.
He's setting them up. He's setting them up. Oh, I just seen Xavier Bryce hit it.
Yeah, I
um,
saw that too. The
yeah,
portal
it just
guys.
came across. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Hey guys, guess what? Xavier Bryce hit the portal. So I heard Sox having exit interviews today. But man, it was a beautiful thing, bro. And I know we're gonna talk. We can talk about Washington a little later on. But man, just
Hey, Vashawn.
watching how that defense. Go ahead.
But before you touch,
Can you
before
hear
you
me?
start on, yeah, I can hear you. Before you start on the defense,
Okay.
before you go on
Okay.
defense, I want to. There's something I need to
Come
tie
on with
off
it.
on something you said. So, Sankey, thank you
Gotcha.
for the super chat. I definitely agree. Demo was there, and Roshan was there, and you saw a lot of guys celebrating. We saw Bijan on Twitter and some of the other guys that are in the NFL, like Coburn's obviously in the league, and Bijan was preparing for a game, but they took some time out and were politicking on Twitter for Texas to make the playoffs. I love that. I love them lobbying for their team. So thank you for the super chat. I want to go back to something Vashawn said about Quinn in the Quinn conversation. Oklahoma State, we got revenge on the hateful eight, and that is
Hmm.
a big deal because Oklahoma State was on the list, and they weren't on the schedule, but they were on the list,
Yeah.
and so to get their name crossed off was dope. To have that get back for Gundy was dope. We owed Gundy one. I thought
Yes.
this game psychologically for Quinn Ewers was very important because he had his worst game, his worst performance as a Texas Longhorn was last year in Stillwater. That was the game. I was one of the people that wanted to finish that game with Hudson Card just because I knew Quinn had it was like and I looked at it more like a pitching situation where I'm not out on you for the season. I just to get us out of this game to give me the
Just
best chance
today's
to
not the
win.
day. Yeah.
Today's not
Yeah.
the day. Let's finish the game with Hudson Card and move on. They wrote it out with Quinn Ewers. That's where I was at that point, right? So knowing that backstory and knowing defensively how they were going to play us, it was very similar. You're gonna have to hit your throws, you're gonna have to be accurate. But if you do that, you will be rewarded immensely because they do not have the personnel to keep up with your receivers. And I thought Quinn Ewers night and day. He shredded them, but he was patient against the zone. I think he started the game 12 of 13 passing or something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, he threw for a Big 12 record yardage wise, and he threw for a Big 12 yardage record and bounced, by the way. So like that's kind of dope to me that he did that. But Sean, I just wanted to add to the Ewers point before you go to the defense of the psychological importance of him getting them boys up out of there, knowing that, hey, that wasn't my best last season, but now I'm better. And if you try to roll that type of coverage against me, I've learned I'm a better football player now. Y'all not, and he's not even healthy yet. That's another thing. You talked
No,
about the win.
that's the scary part. That's the
He's
scary
not
part.
Quinn has 28 days for his arm to get better, right?
Hmm.
And so that's
Yes.
another thing we gotta factor in. There's still balls even in the AT&T where I know a healthy Quinn is probably leading some of the deeper shots, but he'll be
Yes.
healthier 28 days from now. And we'll really be able to see full menu. But phenomenal performance, MVP performance from
Yes, it
Quinn Ewers,
was.
and historic one. Well, go ahead about the defense. You can pick up there.
So man, defensively, uh I the mullet came out and did what I thought he was gonna do. He was gonna break Tennessee. He came out, and I'm not talking about Quinn Ewers the mullet. Y'all know who I'm talking
We're
about,
talking
Gundy
about
the
Gundy.
mullet. Yeah. So he came out, broke Tennessee. He started throwing the ball. He tried to get Ollie Gordon involved, but it just wasn't nothing, man. That Texas defense just too stout, man. But we can argue, they can argue that Terrence Brooks got a pass interference, blah, 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 whatever the case. We had plenty of them go against us this year. Um, but it was actually a pretty decent game plan. Throw it up and just see what happens. But I knew right then and there, I said, man, they can't just do this all game. Because you're just playing pretty much. I'm gonna throw it up and hope the guy comes down with it. That was pretty much the only way they was kind of moving the ball. They did uh, catch my boy Jade. And look, guys, every DB gets beat. Every DB. Deion Sanders, Champ Bailey, doesn't matter. A DB going to get beat. I see. Well, man, what happened to Jade Barron? Hey, it happens. But what you want is the DB to win more than he loses, and that's what happened. So, man, to me, it was just a great defensive game plan, suffocating defense, shut down the run. They had Ollie Gordon so mad that cat was ready to fight everybody, man. I mean,
I mean, he was
every
running his
time.
mouth. He was running
Yeah,
his mouth all pregame. He
man,
was,
what's up?
and look,
Yeah.
I get it. He's a DFW guy. They all proud when they come back home
Hey,
and
hey,
play.
hey,
What's
hey,
up
hey,
with
hey,
y'all? What's up
now.
with y'all Fort Worth guys, man? With your Fort Worth
No, no,
man,
no,
come on.
no. I mean that in a good sense. Like all the
I know.
DFW kids, they want to
He's got
ball
to give
out
it
when they
back.
come back.
But yeah,
And
man,
the kid
they
got
bottled
pissed.
him up. They bottled him up, man. Now look, he's a tough cover. Presley tore us up last year, right, Steve? Am I not
Mhm.
mistaken?
Now
Presley is a
Presley's been
short,
there. He's
yeah,
tough.
Yeah.
he's tough to guard, guys. So, and then I think what's the name? It did a great job on him. Texas Homer on number 10. He's a great jump ball receiver. So I
Rashad
knew he was going
Owens.
to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew he was going to get some good catches, man. So, but otherwise, man, defensively, man, them boys was they was coming, they was flying to the ball, man. They was hitting it, and you could tell as the game went on, they got hungry and hungrier. I'm gonna say this, and I don't say this too often. That's a championship defense right there. I'm serious, guys. And we face a lot of good offenses in the Big 12. And what I mean by that, I'm not necessarily meaning they got the greatest stats, but I'm saying it's so much diversity in the Big 12. It's more diversity than the Big 10. I'm just saying they could throw the Rod Babers used to say it's a throwing league, it's a running league that cross dresses as a passing league, but they can run the ball.
Yeah.
And for us to do what we did this year in the Big 12 is honorable, and especially Sark facing. I don't know how many flyover defenses he faced. That's been his kryptonite since he came into college. He's always that flyover defense. Sark couldn't figure it out. Well,
I mean,
he's figured that out. He's
he
figured
even
that out.
had Wyoming running it against
Had
us.
Wyoming.
We had
Houston
Houston.
Wyoming
wasn't
running
even
it.
running. Houston isn't even
Houston.
running. They brought it out. But like you said, Steve, Quinn has learned to read that defense. Sark has learned how to call the plays on that defense. And our defense, PK, shout out to PK and Terry Joseph. I was hard on you, bro. I really was. With the 8 yards and 9 yards, playing your DBs back, just giving 5 yards, and you blitzing. You have really, ever since Sark got in the media and said something, you heard the message. And I said, hey, if we get beat, we get beat. And that's what happens, guys. When you got a DB playing up, he gonna lose some battles.
Yes,
It's just gonna
Yeah.
yes.
happen. But
But I'd
again,
rather go
long
out
as
that
they're
way.
not losing, yeah, long as you're not losing more than you're winning, you should be fine. And that's it, man. It was just a great, beautiful game plan. Uh, who stood out to me? And they kind of kept sweating them quiet, bro, because they went to the quick passing game and they kind of rolled the pocket a lot. Sweat Murphy, they kind of stayed away, but they just clogged up the middle where they had Jalen Ford and
That's the thing. Gundy
yep,
comes out and he throws the ball 3 times.
exactly, exactly.
That told me everything I needed to know about how you
Yeah,
feel about
how
Tavondre
you feel
Sweat and
about
Byron
Sweat
Murphy.
Murphy?
When you're
Exactly.
veering that far away from a Doak Walker finalist of even getting him the ball, and then when they started getting Ollie the ball, it was way out on the perimeter, whether it was
Yes,
sweeps or stuff very, very far outside. They did not want to try us. They tried us a couple times. We got the double teams. Then Anthony Hill's coming through unblocked, right? Jalen Ford was coming through unblocked. So it was a recipe for disaster for them. I do want to get to this super chat here, Mister. All I do is win. Donated $5. Appreciate your donation, brother. Said our DBs need to get those hips worked out this month. I've watched Washington all year. That back shoulder throw is killer. Hook him. No, you're
it
absolutely
is.
right, brother.
It
Um,
is.
and we will talk about Washington on the back end. The blessing is we just played them in the Alamo Bowl last year, and believe it or not, 31 of the kids on our roster right now, I think, participated in that game, and I think 30 of their guys participated in that game. So we actually have a lot of data points to compare in just 1 year difference. But we know how Washington balls. You're absolutely right there, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. We're wrapping up the Big 12, and then we'll get to the playoff stuff.
Yeah.
No, and just for the sake of time, though, I do want to get to Chris and his thoughts and standouts here. So, just from the game. So, Chris, man, what you got for us?
Man, I'll just be short with it. But one thing I will say is it's so weird. We were talking about how Sark, his kryptonite was a three high safety. Well, we've seen so much over the last, pretty much the whole year, the last probably 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Seeing preparing for the Washington game, you kind of almost wish that they would. I almost wish they would come out in a three high safety look because I honestly feel like Sark has mastered it.
Yeah.
Um, we talked about last week with the three high safety look. I made a comment about, just the fan base needs to be patient because we're going to start off with the short passes and so forth and this, that, the other. And I didn't dwell into the reason why. I remember Vashawn had went to the Houston game earlier on, and he was saying, "Man, we're missing wide open receivers. Man, we're missing wide open receivers." Well, Houston
Yeah.
has switched to a three safety look too. Basically, what the
Yeah.
three high safety looks is, let's say you line up. And I'm not perfect with this, but what I've seen of it is that, like, let's say your safeties are in any kind of formation, you name it. Let's say they're in a two high, and then you have a third safety in a slot. Let's say you have a play run for that. Okay, we're going to run the ball with this for sure. Then all of a sudden, last minute, these safeties move, and you've already got your play call. And, all of a sudden, you're running that ball because that safety move and you're running right into that safety. And instead of you getting your 5, 6, 7 yards you think you're going to get, you're getting no gain. You're getting 1 and 2 yards. And basically what Sark was doing, basically with the three high, basically what you want to do when we line up in our big personnel or our 21 personnel, which is our two backs and one tight end, basically you're forcing the defense to commit so you know what they're doing. And like last year, and at times, if you look at Oklahoma State game last year, he wasn't quite doing that. This year, man, like he's literally committed
He's
to it.
been he's committed to the two back.
Yes,
Yes, we
yes,
run a lot
he's
of 21 personnel.
yeah. And I want to give Cedric back, so we have a lot of fans on him. Because he's not 100% healthy yet. He's not the 5-star back that they're expected him to be. But man, the only reason why the 21 personnel works for us is because of Cedric Baxter being able to do everything he does. I've never seen a freshman running back come in and pick up blitz pickup like that guy does.
Yeah. He
Like
picks it up
literally,
pretty good.
yeah, man.
Hmm.
Like I've never seen a running back like that. Ricky did a really good job of coming in early, Ricky Williams, but not like this, man. Like, dude, Cedric Baxter. Like I remember just seeing like Shanahan and Stark when they were both at Atlanta. Stark picked up the two back personnel there. Was it Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman? Tevin Coleman was a really good,
Hmm.
job of doing everything he needed to do to be that
Good,
back
good
that did
there.
those small
Mhm.
things. And man, that's what Cedric Baxter's doing, man. Um, I'm just offensively, man. I'm just so amazed. I just how critical we were of Stark, and not only is he calling the plays and being patient with it, not taking the deep shot. Like he's really coaching the whole team, like you said last week. Like literally, like
Hmm.
it's like he's done a 180-degree turn, man. Defensively, we had made a comment. I made a comment about Sweat. I wasn't really calling him out in a video we did earlier on, but you corrected me, and you were 100% right in this, Steve. Yeah, Sweat's numbers didn't look great last year because of the rotation we had. And bro, Keandre Coburn had a great year last year. Moro Ojimo had a great year last year. But as great a players those guys were for us while they were on the 40 acres, man, I am glad that they're not here because a guy like Javondre Sweat, I'm sorry, man. That guy needs to get every rep that dude needs to. Him and Murphy together. Um, the play that there was the pass interference on, where Gundy was freaking out and giving that official the business. The pass play, the play before was a pass play where I think they're on the left hash mark, and Bowman rolls right, or Adam Bowman, he rolls right, and he goes past the center to the right hash mark. All right. And they didn't call hole. They didn't call a hole at all. If when you're rolling and you got two defensive linemen like Sweat and Murphy, and they don't get to you, and they're just like literally, it was obviously holding, and you could hear the crowd yell holding. You know, everyone was just like, I mean, the offensive linemen were just like Oklahoma State's like, man, they're going to let us get away with this.
We
You
don't
know,
get those calls, brother.
we don't get those calls, man. But just just seeing what Sweat does kind of reminds me, like I told Vashawn, kind of reminds me of Alfred Haynesworth. Like, really, don't look at his stats. Don't look to see if he has 12,
The
13 games,
good
like
Albert
12,
Haynesworth.
13 stats.
Let's not
Oh, yeah.
compare him to the
The
NFL.
Tennessee,
good one.
the Tennessee
Yeah,
Alfred Haynesworth.
not
Yeah.
the Redskins, Albert
You
Haynes.
gotta be
The,
careful with that,
the
brother.
Tennessee
That's
Titan one. The Tennessee
Yes.
Titan one.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a saying in sports: numbers never lie. They do when you watch Sweat Murphy because
Yeah.
you can't look at their numbers and see, oh well, he had this or he had 2 tackles for loss, 4 total tackles. That's it. That's an okay game. No, that's a great game because look at what everyone else was able to do, man. But
but
basically,
to be fair, Chris, just for that quick point,
yeah, yeah,
what we do have now in our at least in 2023 is more advanced analytics and more advanced data with everybody having all 22
yeah.
to where we have, and look, I get not everybody's a PFF person. Some people don't like some of the grading companies or don't agree, blah, blah, blah. However you feel about Pro Football Focus, they give grades, okay?
Yeah.
And Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy are your two highest graded defensive tackles in the country, one
Yes,
and
Yep.
two.
1 and 2.
And Tavondre Sweat going into the playoffs is the highest graded player, I believe, in all of the playoffs.
All the playoffs. Yeah.
Mhm.
I saw that.
Like, think about that, right? So, yes, you're right. We don't have, because we grew up on the traditional box score and analytics, right?
Mhm.
Tackle for loss, sack. Then it
Yep,
got a little bit more advanced with pressures and things of that sort, and defeating block win rate,
yep.
win rate, things of that sort. But that's the only way you can grade people at those positions. It's not as sexy as a touchdown, and even though he did get a touchdown last game as well, he got a thick six.
Big fella
Um,
can move. He can move.
but we have more data points now to show those guys love and appreciation of what they're doing,
Yeah.
backed by film.
Man, I just think overall though, just defensively, man, like I just and like Vashawn said, Terry Joseph, man, he got that call, man. Like, I mean, it seems like everything has woken up at the right time. You know, if Texas doesn't blow Tech out like they did, if they don't blow Oklahoma State out, we're not here. We're not having this conversation. Florida State's in here because we were winning at times like they were winning with their backup quarterback. But I think these last couple of weeks, I think Texas has really put their foot down. The Iowa State game, going on the road, doing it like that. We really put our foot down, and we pretty much let the country know we're here, man. This is ours. So I'm so excited. Like I said earlier on, man, I'm just happy for these kids, man. Like I'm literally happy, and I view these guys as my nephews, man.
I
Like
know,
when
man.
you're in your 20s and you see these guys, you're just like, man, I was a couple years away from that age. Now, when you're in your 40s, you're these parents' age that are raising these kids, man. It's just you just see it different, bro. I'm so happy for these kids.
There's some great comments here. So, couple people, Quentin as well as Retmore77 commenting about the officiating in the playoffs. I think we're going to see a little bit different football in the playoffs in a good way that is beneficial to Texas, getting away from our home conference and some of the things. I
Yeah.
think when people referee our defensive line, it's going to be different.
Oh
I
yeah.
think when we get in the playoffs, I do expect Washington to probably run some elements of flyover coverage, but a lot of these teams have gotten here because they can play man and they have good coverage guys. So they're going to play more straight up, like we saw against Alabama in both of our matchups, where we're going to have more traditional coverages because that's how they play football. Washington, let's just throw this out there with Washington. Look at Malik. You talk about Malik Muhammad. Well, Washington has Jabbar Muhammad, and
Yeah.
he's just the older version. that
Yeah.
is very physical, and he's an awesome freaking football player. They're
Yeah.
not going to have that guy playing weird off coverages like Oklahoma State does because they don't have people that can run like that. So it'll be, at least for us, it's like, okay, this is easier to play football against. So yeah, some good stuff there. The development narrative. So Fancy, hey, what's up, Fancy Booze? Fancy brought up players getting developed. That's a good one because we look at, I'm looking at David Benda, and I keep saying this because it's one of my David Benda and Jordan Whittington, the 2019 class. Christian Jones in that group.
Alfred Collins.
Sweat. Yeah.
Alfred Collins, Tavondre Sweat. There's people on this team that people in the fan base either gave up on or were frustrated or wanted people recruited over. And I think it's just validation for so many different guys. Keaton Crawford got an interception in this game, and it was a very difficult interception that he made. I want to give a shout out to Keelan Robinson. Keelan Robinson had a big game on the ground playing running back, but he's been balling on special teams for us since he got to Texas. And after he scores this touchdown, he scored that long touchdown where he tightrope the sideline, stayed in bounds, he gets in the end zone. And shout out to Tashard Choice and the running. We just got nothing but infinity stones in the running back room. But we kicked the ball off. Will Stone kicks the ball off. Keelan Robinson makes the tackle.
Yeah.
He just scored a 50-yard touchdown or however long it was.
Yeah.
He's down the first man down there making the tackle on special teams. If
That's what's
that's not indicative of culture and
Yeah.
turnaround, I don't know what is. I don't know if anybody else saw that. He was the first
I
guy
saw
down
that.
there breaking down,
Yeah.
making a tackle. That's crazy.
Yeah.
After a touch, that's where I was like, yo, we really, man, we really different. We really, really different. And it's guys like that in combination with the super freshmen who are all champions at their level, but they just come in, they don't know any different. Malik Muhammad, the last time he played football at AT&T was last December when he was collecting hardware
Yeah.
at SOC,
Yeah.
right? Trey Wisner, the last time he played football, Jonte Cook, we can go down the list.
Yeah.
The last time they played football in that stadium, they were all collecting hardware around Christmas time last year. And 12 months later, they were collecting hardware again as Big 12 champions. So all they know is those guys. But for the Keelan Robinsons of the world and all the other people I just mentioned, I'm so happy for them. And it was a really, really dope moment. Any other comments about the Big 12 championship before we move to Sunday and the playoffs and some comments there?
Well, back on to what Texas Fancy Boots said about the development and the narrative, the player narrative. I mean, not really the Big 12 championship, but with this portal coming out, that argument's gone. They don't develop players. I just saw a certain defensive lineman from A&M, Walter Nolan, hit the portal. Was it last night or this morning? And man, Oklahoma can't go to him and Oregon can't go to him and say, well, you're not going to get developed at Texas. The heck you're not. Look at what we're doing, man. It's literally, man. This is huge, bro. We talking about the culture and the previous coaches and the previous coaching staff, man. You got guys like Jeff Choate. It's like the Nevada AD said, that guy, he builds culture. That's going to be our head coach. A guy like Tom Herman brought in younger coaches. He didn't bring in guys that were going to, I don't know, they weren't respected. When you bring in guys, Starks brought in guys that have been head coaches and coordinators and, a guy like Joe DeCamillis that's been in the NFL.
Good
When you
point
bring in
about Joe
guys,
DeCamillis.
when you bring in guys that have been in higher levels, tougher situations, just you have, where you're not the smartest guy in the room. Our Mensa guy, Tom Herman, was the smartest guy in the room. I honestly feel like he felt like he was better than any of the previous coaches. I think with Sark, honestly, with the coaches he has in here right now, I think he's looking at Camillus. Camillus is his assistant head coach on the sideline. He's probably going to him, "Hey, what do you think here? What do you think there?" You know, you got a guy like Jeff Choate that's coached at Montana, that's won at Montana, that just got the Nevada coaching job.
Shout out to
That's
Jeff
good
Choate.
culture. That's great culture.
Yep. Shout out to Jeff Choate, like you just said, newly announced head coach at the
Hmm.
University of Nevada. And
Yep.
Chris, like you said, it's not firing coaches anymore. It's
No.
coaches getting promotions, right?
Yep.
I mean, to be honest with you, the only position coach that I can think of that was let go was our receivers coach.
Yep.
Was on the first round because Brennan Marion was able to go and get an offensive coordinator position. Stan Drayton was able to go and get a head coaching position. Jeff Choate is now able to go and get a head coaching position. So we haven't had fire coach talk here in Texas in a while, right? Like, or we need to replace this person or come up off of this person or this,
Hmm.
that, and the third. We haven't had those conversations here recently. It's more so, wow, you're doing a great job. Another team, wants to uplift you, right? Like that's what it used to be. It used to
Hmm.
be, dang, I hope Andre Coleman. I don't know why I'm back in my
Under,
name. I
I
was
was
like,
thinking about it
that was
too.
the only
Yeah.
that was the only person we let go, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody else has left because somebody came and gave them a promotion at the school. That's freaking awesome. And
Yep.
so,
Yep. Yep.
and that shows again to the point mentioned earlier about development. It also shows to so my issue with Tom Herman this is not just Tom Herman, it's a lot of coaches in college and the NFL. They think they're just supposed to develop their players. You're supposed to develop your players and your staff. You're supposed to be training your staff, developing your staff. And that's why Nick Saban is at the top, guys. Because that whole fired coaches, y'all don't think he's taking nuggets away from every single coach that walks in that building, every
Yeah.
single coach that was ever maligned? He's one of the goats because he doesn't mind sitting with somebody and asking him, "Hey, 10 minutes, show me how you did that. Just show me what were you running there?" Because I haven't seen that before. You know who's really good at that is Kyle Flood. Kyle Flood he'll go to coaching clinics all over the place. I see Kyle Flood all over the place, just like I want to learn what they're teaching. I just want to know. And if you're constantly Sark and them at their heart are still students of the sport. And because they have a student mentality, they're always constantly going to be learning and growing and evolving with the sport. Once you think you have this thing mastered, you're cooked.
Hmm.
Once you're cooked because the sport changes too quickly. And so I appreciate that about our guys. Um, the chat, y'all are making some funny comments here. I'm not even gonna mention some of the comments being made in the chat. Yes, shout out to Jeff Choate. Shout out to Jeff Choate. I don't know who they talk about was a mole on the staff. um, let's transition though to Sunday, right? Because we all kind of soaked it in. We vanquished the hateful eight. We vanquished Bret Yarmark, and we're Big 12 champions. We have our WWE Undertaker belt. We're feeling good. All right, now it's play. Now we got a politic, right? Now we're watching Bama, Georgia. Now we're watching Louisville, Florida State. Um, Fellas, and Bashan, I'm gonna pitch it to you. Take me through what and I know. Look, I know you were a good brother and was at church, praising the Lord and whatnot. But as you woke up that morning, what was going through your head? What did you think was happening? Did you think we were in? Just give me. I had to get you laughing, bro, because I know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you got me. Hey, so I use my tablet. I use my tablet at church. I got my Bible in Facebook Messenger. These cats simp them just talking. So as I'm watching the sermon and I'm trying to pay attention, I'm stuff coming across the screen. And then I saw somebody said something like, we're in. But
Yep.
I'm like, I just paused. I said, well, let me look at that. I looked at it, but they were just making a comment. I think we're in. But man, I ain't gonna lie, bro. It was because there's a bunch of Longhorn fans I go to church with. One guy sitting in front of me who I watched the game with. And we were just, you know, at first I was like, in the back of your mind, started to I started to really believe when I went to sleep, like, yeah, we in, because you start hearing things. And like, man, Texas is in. It's really all about Florida State and Alabama. But I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I don't know, Steve, how it would have went if Georgia would have won. I still can't say that because it would have. It just in my mind, it would have made the Alabama win just not. If Alabama would have got blown out by Georgia, our win in Tuscaloosa is not as shiny as it once was. And you know, Alabama actually done us a favor. I believe that because Florida State, Louisville definitely didn't do it. That was one of the sorriest games. I'm sitting there watching that, man, and I'm like, and my wife, she loved the Longhorns, but she don't really know. She's like, well, who you rooting for? So I'm trying to explain to all of these we need this team to win. They beat Florida State, we in, and I'm sitting there watching this, bro, and I'm like, they
Nasty.
can't. It was so bad. I'm like, man, I just cut it off. I just cut it off, man. I started watching a movie with my wife, and I'm like, man, Florida State couldn't do us no favor. And then you start getting trolls all on Facebook. Oh, Texas ain't gonna go. They're gonna do this, and then you start hearing people talking about Ohio State. But I kind of knew. I said, no, that somebody that didn't win their conference championship in. And then, man, next thing I know, bro, like I say, I just started feeling confident. I started hearing Texas might be the third team. It's out of Alabama and Florida State. But man, when I got the news, I was in church. Yes, I was praising the Lord. And man, I came out of there, bro. I was so excited, man. I was just like, man, this is you just can't believe it. And it almost to me, Steve, the way we have been on this slide for the last 13 years, and for it to happen this way so unexpectedly. I mean, we knew we was going to be pretty good this year, but I don't think
Yes.
nobody knew this was going to happen.
Hmm.
And the way it lined up, just like you said, think about it, man. The revenge tour. Oklahoma State was not on our schedule. We got to avenge that loss. Washington was another team not on our schedule. We get to avenge that loss. Now, let's just say Alabama beats Michigan. Do y'all remember what happened to us in 2009? The Colt McCoy game?
Hmm.
This could be a team of destiny. We might get to avenge all those losses, man. And look, like I tell everybody, the start of every great dynasty always has a beginning. This could be the beginning. Let's just, because I think we got Sark has proven to me and he's shown me that he can adjust. He has a good eye for talent when it comes to coaches, and like he just said, what about Saban? Saban has good eye for talent. Saban and then Saban installs his culture. I truly believe Sark has installed a culture at Texas that is going to win you a lot of games. And people that used to just say, "Oh, we take recruiting classes," I beg the difference. Yeah, it takes the Jimmys and the Joes, but you better believe you better have culture in place. Ask Texas A&M. Ask them.
Great point.
You just can't, guys. And as Texas fans, Steve, and I was one of them. Oh man, we got top 5 recruiting classes. We should win. We thought that was the process. But I think through these 13 years of learning and understanding, it's just not about getting recruiting class rankings. It's getting guys that fit your program. It's getting guys that buys into your program. It's getting guys that get up and go to the gym and inspire the other guys to get up and go to the gym. I saw a video, and I'm gonna be quiet. I saw a video of Jordan Whittington. Did y'all see it on Texas football? Go check it out. He made a video last year, July the 12th. I forgot when it was. I guess they was at. He said, "You recording this?" Somebody was recording it. He said, "Hey y'all, December 2nd." And this was July the 12th. He said, "December 2nd, we're gonna be right back here picking up that Big 12 trophy." He had it, he said it, he had it in his mind, and that's the mentality this team had. They knew it, we didn't know it. But man, Sark, you did a heck of a job instilling culture. Let's quit worrying about recruiting rankings. Let the players and coaches get the guys they want. Let them get the guys they want. And bro, we might not even get all the guys in this recruiting class. But I believe what we're doing, Steve, we're gonna clean up in this portal. And we're gonna keep on rolling. That's all I got, bro.
Amen.
Amen. One of the things about Sark in particular with culture, and I learned this early on because our team is rooted in it, is relationships and not burning bridges. We don't have sour grapes anymore with recruits when they don't pick our school because Sark's like, look, if we finish number 2, best of luck to you. But if something happens with this transfer portal, we may meet again. And it's sometimes sooner rather than later. And
Mm-hmm.
our freaking wide receiver, I say this every video, Xavier Worthy is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
He picked Michigan. He
Mm-hmm.
at Michigan,
Sure did.
right? But Sark's like, no, I'm not going to burn a bridge with that kid. I love that kid. He's from California. We have a lot in common. Hit me up if something ever goes sideways. Hit me up, brother. I got you. He hits up Sark. Sark's like, I'm at Texas now. Just got a new job.
It went sideways, apparently.
It went
Yeah,
sideways real quick at Michigan, right?
real quick.
And Xavier Worthy comes to Texas because relationships, bridges weren't burnt. Even in recruiting, there's recruits right now. Look at the flips we've had. Wardell Mack coming back around. Things have started going sideways at Florida. Corey Raymond at Florida, who was him at LSU for
Yeah.
years. Corey Raymond gets let go at
Mhm.
Florida. Florida's in shambles. And they said, Terry Joseph and them, dude, I never gave up on you. You want to come to Texas, come to Texas. We don't burn bridges over here. It's no shade against, as long as you don't disrespect me, we won't disrespect you.
Yep.
Right? It was never taken personal. Quinn Ewers went to Ohio State, did he not?
Yep.
That portal was a blessing in a lot of ways that allowed us with those relationships to stay intact. And now you'll start to see more kids just like last year's class that are organically picking Texas out of high school. But that's part of our culture too, to Vashon's point, is those relationships. And so many of them, so many guys on our team, have come back around because of that. And our coaches doing right by people and doing right by the parents and doing right by the family. And we got examples of that. Chris, did you think this was the 4 that we would see? What 4 did you have going in yesterday? Well, share your thoughts with us.
Well, originally, my goal, and like Rashawn had said, man, my goal was was to, I picked us 11-1, but seeing how the season was unfolding, if Georgia would have won and been undefeated, and I hate to say this right now, looking at how everything ended up, I'm not going to say I was going to be happy with us not being in, but if Georgia wouldn't have been undefeated and there would have been 4 undefeated teams, I was fine with Florida State getting in because we didn't do what we needed to do in that Oklahoma game. I was fine with it. I just wanted us to continue the process we were going through. And like I told you earlier on, once Alabama beat Georgia and there wasn't one lost team at that point, it sped up our process because certain people were calling this last year the year before the year. In my opinion, I thought 2024 was our year when we were going to do it. That offensive line was going to be 1 year older, like the 2022 class. The pancake factory was going to be 3 years into it. There's no excuses. These guys are grown men going up against other grown men now. We're ready. But when Jalen Milroe and Georgia started to pull an old school Georgia, what we seen, it looked like Mark Richt was on that sideline. Once that happened, I just thought I was like, man, this is ours. We have our chance. We really have our chance. And man, like, it was so weird being on social media, keeping up with everything yesterday. And once Texas was in, like I said, we were texting Rashawn when he was at church. But once Texas was in, I started making some Facebook posts and I started catching strays from other fan bases mad about Texas, mad about us being in. I had some Arkansas fans, I had TCU fans. I mean, they were all over the place. Just, what are you guys doing in here? I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. You guys don't even have a dog in the fight. What are you talking about? And first off, I'm thinking to myself, you should be attacking the SEC schools for this. It's not Texas's fault. Texas has the best road win they have the best win of anybody this year. All right. So leading up to this point, if there's somebody that's going to be left out, everyone is so SEC that they were attacking us for being. And I'm like, no, if you're going to attack a fan base, get on Alabama fans, Facebook wall. Stay off of mine. We're fine. We did our job. And I just knew that we were going to get in. I knew that there was no doubt. And I don't know, man. I just kind of like the Cowboys in '92. Like, I didn't expect them to have that happen in 3 years. Year 4 it happened. I thought it was going to happen the year after that. Like, this is our time, man. Like, this is it. Um, and like Vashawn said earlier, we're probably building this. This has a chance to be a every year type of situation for us. With our culture and our recruiting and the way Sark is evaluating guys, man. But this is our time. Like, we don't need to think about next year. We don't even think about the SEC. Like, this is our chance to win the national championship. Let's just literally go in here, take care of Washington. Don't worry about anything else. Take care of Washington. Don't worry about anybody else. Keep the culture the way it is. Just do our jobs, man. Like, this is like, it's in front of us. Like, this is not. And like I said last week, this kind of reminds me of the Rangers. Like, I was like, all of a sudden, a couple weeks ago, we're just like, I was telling Michon and them, I was like, man, the Rangers have a chance to win the World Series. I can't believe that. And a couple weeks ago, was it last week, I was telling you guys, like, the Longhorns legitimately have a chance to win the national championship. When it's your time, man, go ahead and take your time. And it's just like, and I'll say this in closing. If you look at everybody else's reactions, everybody was happy. The Florida State kids was sad. Dude, those Michigan people seemed terrified of playing Alabama. If you look at that, whenever they saw that it was Bama that was going to be 4 and they were probably going to be 1. If you look at our reaction, we were happy no matter who we were playing. You could have put the Kansas City Chiefs out there. Sark was going to find a way to make that happen, man. I'm
Michigan,
so excited. Those Michigan kids, like you're
Michigan,
saying, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Michigan's reaction told you that the committee got the teams right.
Yeah.
I hate being blunt like this, but it's the truth. If it, the fact of the matter is, Florida State is handicapped in
Yeah.
their present situation, and Michigan wanted to take advantage of a handicap.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they did.
That's what
Yeah,
they
Yeah.
wanted to do,
Yeah.
they
and
was
because
upset they
they
got
have,
Alabama. They did
and
not look
now
too enthused.
that
Mm-mm.
tells you that reaction, that genuine human reaction, tells you, oh no, this is legit the 4 best team. They wanted no smoke with Bama.
And it cracks me up because of that. Because Harbaugh said a couple weeks ago he's got 20 draft eligible players on his roster, and he does. They have a loaded roster. They should be in there. They have just as good a chance as anyone to win the whole thing. Why are they all like they shouldn't have had the
because
cameras there if
I'm
they
gonna
were
tell
feeling
you
that
why.
type of way?
I'm gonna tell you why. Because they blew it last year.
Mm.
Michigan last year, that was their. We talk about windows. This is a window in Harbaugh. I give credit to Harbaugh in this sense. The cheating and all the craziness going on. 3 straight years, Michigan has made the college football playoff. in
Yep.
the 4-team, because this is the last of the 4-team era in college football, right?
Yep.
So the era of college 4-team playoff was 2014 to 2023 was the last year. So Texas, we can at least say we at least made it in the 4-team era, because there's a lot of other teams that did not make it in the 4-team era. And Michigan, now the first year they made it, they lost to Georgia. I think it was the Orange Bowl. Georgia clearly was the better team. Last year they blew it. And so this year they're like, all right, it's year 3. It's the third year we're here. And they're thinking, all right, we can get a layup if we just get in that natty. Because think about it, it's 3 years. They haven't even been in the national championship.
Yeah.
They went both years. They lost both times in the semifinal.
Yeah.
So this thing is also about windows. And right now, Texas has a window that's open. Um, I haven't thought about next year. And the reason why I next year's literally the first year of the new era of college football. And the reason why I dismissed next year was because it's not just our schedule. Everybody's schedule that is serious is a gauntlet.
Hmm.
There's no easy schedules next year. And you have a 12-team playoff. Coaches are going to be adjusting to that. It's going to be a different world. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you guys, when we get to next year, it's going to feel different. This is the last year we know of college football in this sense. And Texas was set up to take advantage of that, at least winning the conference. So to be in this group now, you've already beaten one of the other teams. The team you're playing, you played them a year ago. At least you have a good sense, and that can lead us into
Yep.
Washington, because a lot of people have commented about Washington. I was personally happy to see Washington beat Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. RIP Pac-12. It was sad. I thought that was a worthy final game for the Pac-12 conference in Vegas. It was very competitive against Oregon, and I just knew that Oregon, those kids are a bunch of front runners too. They like to beat up on crap teams and
Colorado.
all that, and and all that. And then
No
when it was
that,
time to
baby.
play
Yeah.
No more of that.
Yep.
Hey, and don't expect. Hey, Steve, I really don't expect maybe one, maybe two. If anybody is undefeated, it's going to be hard to go undefeated anymore, which is a good thing out of 12-team playoff, because like this year, let's face it, it was some good teams left out. That hey, we lost one game, wasn't in it, but hey, man, you guys 1 year too late. I'm glad Texas is in there. I mean, hey Steve, we was on that. We had that shoe on our foot in 2008 when they sent
yes, we did.
Oklahoma, and when they sent Oklahoma instead of Texas to the Natty, and Oklahoma got slaughtered. But we're gonna do y'all proud, Big 12. Matter of fact, I saw a post. I guess you can say we're the Big 12 champs and the SEC champs all at once, since we beat Alabama already. So we're gonna go ahead and carry the flag for the Big 12 and the SEC. Dual champs, baby. Natty, here we come.
It's natty season, and I love it. I love it. It's fun. It's a fun conversation. Um, and look, I just we only have a couple minutes left here because I want to be respectful of
Yeah.
time. I told you guys an hour. We're over an hour now, but this chat almost I think 200 people in here right now watching us, which is
Wow.
amazing on a Monday night. Hit that
Yeah.
like button. Hit that like button. Nolan said this is one of your best streams ever. I love winning. Yeah, when we win, the streams are fun,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
right?
they are. Isn't it?
But it's more fun because of where we came from and what
Yeah.
we've been through, right? And I want to touch on Washington a little bit, and then we can end here on perspective. But we are playing a team. This game, me as a football fan, and Nash and Kieran were on yesterday with Tran. This is going to be one of the funnest games
Yeah.
because Washington with Kalen DeBauer and what they're bringing in and those receivers, and that running back Dylan Johnson, who is a hammer.
Yeah, he
They've
is.
got it. They can do it both ways. Um, just matching up with those guys is going to be hella fun. It's going to be a fun Sark versus Kalen DeBauer, coaching wise, hell of a matchup. We're going to see things on both sides that are going to make your head spin in New Orleans. To me, that's the best bowl game. I think it's a funner matchup. I know how Michigan and Bama's going to look. I'm gonna just tell you that right now. There's not a
Yeah,
whole bunch of schematics going on there. That's straight up and down phone booth football right there.
yeah.
But Texas Washington is going to be a very fun game, and especially from the fact these teams are somewhat familiar with each other. PK being from Washington, Sark previously being over there. There's so many connections too with these programs, so it's going to be fun. I think though we got to find our edge over the next 28 days, to make it personal and get that revenge back. But any other comments you guys have in particular to the Washington game before we go to our final sign off?
I want to see how we look. They have a light, like a 280-pound old school Mark Stepnoski type center. And I really want to see if we could take advantage of that with Sweat and Murphy. Man, Tavondre Sweat, like that dude, he's one of my favorite Longhorns of all time already. Like I've never seen a guy that size, that athletic in my entire life. Like I'm serious. Like that dude moves around like when I think of guys like that, who was it? Terrence Cody. Remember that Georgia or the
Mount
Bama
Cody.
defensive lineman,
Yeah.
Mount Cody? Do you remember back in the day whenever everybody was running the hurry up, no huddle offense and Saban freaked out on a press conference and was like, man, I've got 370-pound, 380-pound linemen. That's not healthy for them to be going up and down like that, going up and down like that. Dude, you got teams that are going hurry up, no huddle. Tavondre Sweat's making a play, running back 3 more yards, 10
He's
seconds
an
later, making a
athlete.
play. I mean, he's
My
a
brother's
stud,
an
man.
athlete.
He's a stud. He's a stud. Like I said, we've come such a long way, bro. I almost kind of, and I hate to say this, but I almost kind of feel like a little more pressure is on the two teams that make it to the final because I'm not going to say, I mean, it's not easy. College football isn't easy. None of this is easy. But if you look at what's coming over the next several years with how the playoffs are going to be, this is going to be your easiest chance to win a championship. So, I mean, because it's when you go from 4 to 12 teams, naturally, you got to play more games to get to where you're going to go. So I want to see who's going to take advantage of it. Who's going to really, really go in depth. Like you said, that Kalen DeBoer, Steve Sarkisian coaching match is going to be something that's going to be amazing. That's going to be something totally opposite than what you saw from Michigan and Iowa the other day. But literally,
I
that is
agree.
really going to be fun, man. Like I'm
That's two
excited.
different
Like
levels of football. No,
this
thank
next
you, Chris.
month of football is going to be fun.
Thank you, Chris. I want to get to this super chat here before I get to for Sean. Oscar, thank you for the donation. Said Steven found your channel during high school. This has been
Wow.
a place for us as fans to take in the good and all the bad together. Thank you, brother. I'm now a senior at UT. Congratulations. Senior year at
Welcome,
UT.
Oscar.
Congratulations, Oscar. And the channel, been through it all, man. We've been here collectively. Oscar, thank you, man. I'm proud of you. Thanks for sticking with us. And I'm glad that you're actually going to be graduating from UT here pretty soon, man. The
Mhm.
whole way through, man. How exciting as a student to be a student through this.
Yeah.
That means Oscar was there during 5 and 7. Oscar was there when a coach got fired. Oscar was there during COVID, and now he gets blessed with all of this, right? Like that's his journey as a Texas student, which is a
Mhm.
crazy journey.
Right.
So shout out to you, man. That's amazing. Thank you for the donation as well. $20 is a lot for a college kid, man. So we're gonna, try to give you quality here. Vashawn, I wanted to you mentioned 2008, and I want to end on perspective. Um, we got screwed over by the computers.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I still feel that way to this day. I still feel like
Hmm.
what the computers did to us was unjust, and how they determined that three-way tiebreaker. It's interesting because if the BCS had determined the playoffs, we would have been out. It would have been Florida State and Bama, and the BCS, the computers would have had us at 5. if it was still that way. Just if you guys didn't know that, go
Yeah.
look it up. The
Well, I didn't
BCS
know that.
computer,
Wow.
Oh,
the BCS computers, if it was done by the BCS, would have had Florida State, I think, at 3, Bama at 4, or Bama at 3, Florida State at 4, and us at 5. It was a different order. So
hmm.
that's why I'm like, I'm
The
blessed that
BCS
we
is
no
an
longer.
SEC bias, huh?
Yep, I'm glad we no longer use the compute, because the computers already did this in before.
Yeah.
So, this method, but perspective here, right? Like, for me, this was one of the funnest weekends I've ever had as a Texas fan.
Oh, yes,
I
it was.
like, just seriously. I mean, I've look. I was 17 years old when we won in '05 our national championship. So I was a senior in high school. That was unbelievable. Now, granted, that was a Monday, right? It was a Monday night, but leading to that, that whole season was a movie, right? Um,
Yes.
I would probably say my funnest weekend before that was when Ricky went off against A&M, and
Yeah.
I think we
I was
all knew
there.
he was going to win the Heisman. Where do you guys fall? Just perspective of these last 48 hours or so. Where Nate, get out of here. Nobody's talking about Niners game, bro. I see you here. I see Nate's comment right from the corner of my eye, and oh man, Nate, shout out to Nate. Anyway, if we can wrap up there, just y'all's perspective. 3 different generations here as Texas fans. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh man, for me, honestly, it being in the Metroplex and me living in me being so close to the stadium, like just all week, just driving to work Saturday morning, seeing all the orange, all the burnt orange, seeing all the Texas fans, seeing all the Texas fans in town. I work at the arena at American Airlines Center, and just there was a lot of Okie Light or Oklahoma State. I call them Okie Light. I'm sorry, but there was a lot of Okie Light fans. There was a lot of Texas fans in. There was a Stars Mavs doubleheader on Saturday at the arena, and the Stars went first. There were a lot of people in for the Mavs game because Oklahoma City was in, and man, just I don't know, man, just it being so close to the Metroplex, being everybody being here, Texas shining at the Big 12 championship, us doing what we're supposed to do. Um, I don't know. It's just even though we are Texas and everyone thinks, oh, you guys get all these athletes, you should be doing this. It was still sweet. Like I said, it felt like Christmas, man. Um, just and then the way the whole thing with your mark, like we haven't even talked about him yet. Like the way everything was handled, the way Sark took the trophy from him, man, if you were at that stadium and you booed him, like I was saying, like I was watching it at work and we turned the volume up and you couldn't even hear your mark with everybody booing, man. Shout
It
out to
felt
the
good.
Texas fans. Shout out, Steven, you were there. I saw you later on that evening. I saw Jerry Hamilton at the Mavs game later on that evening. Man, what you guys
Mhm.
said, y'all's perspective of it, I was like, I asked him, I was like, was it that loud as it was on TV? He goes, bro, y'all are both like, brother, it was that and then some. It was awesome. I wish I would have been there, man. But like I say, man, this is like Christmas, bro. Like I like where we are. I am I love it. Like I'm speechless. Like I'm still kind of in a shock, but I'm just happy. Like let's just take care of our business. Let's do what we need to do. What do you got, Vashon?
Well, I'm gonna close out with this. Those of you guys are getting nervous about Washington. Let me remind you a little something about Washington. The Washington this year, let me just read off these scores for you. Washington, let's just start off with Oregon. They beat Oregon the first time, 3 points. They played a very bad Arizona State and beat them 15-7, and they was at home.
Hmm.
Washington then beat a very bad Stanford team 42-33. And Washington beat another, and I love that. Little Riley, I call him Little Riley. Lincoln Riley, USC team 52-42. No defense played.
Hmm.
Then they beat Utah. Utah was a pretty good team. I give Utah a little props this year. They played with a backup quarterback, but they was pretty decent. They beat them 35-28. Oregon State, they was decent. They beat them by 2 points. Washington State, that's a rival game. I throw that out. So that was 3 points. Then you know what they did to Oregon. My point is, we have nothing to fear. Last year, Quinn lit that same team up for 349 yards, and Worthy dropped
2 balls.
2 touchdowns.
Yep.
Sark them was still trying to Brooks. You know, they didn't start Brooks, but Brooks had the hernia, from my understanding. That's what they told us later on.
Yeah,
So they
Brooks
went with
had a
Keelan
hernia.
Robinson. Yeah.
Mhm.
So they went with Keelan Robinson. Keelan Robinson wasn't ready to run up the middle. They had some big D tackles. I'll say this. Our offensive line is better. Our defensive line is better. Our linebackers are better. Cornerbacks are better. We can talk a little bit about safeties later. But our offense, we got A.D. Mitchell. Worthy was by himself last year. We got J.T. Sanders. Shout out to Gunnar Helm. And shout out to Jaden Blue. Hey, man, what my Kool-Aid? Y'all lucky I don't have
Jaden
my
Blue.
Kool-Aid fan. But I'm telling you now. I'm telling you guys now. We got nothing to fear. And I'm going to go ahead, Steve, and make a prediction now. We're going to handle these boys. I'm saying at least about 14 points.
Rashawn's confident. We don't even got to go into prep. Chris, you got a super chat here, man.
I saw that.
People want you to get out to East Texas, man. Thank you, Homegrown Cowboy, for the donation.
Appreciate that.
We really appreciate that. No,
Yeah.
you shouted out a lot of people there, Vashawn. Gunnar Helm, for those, Gunnar Helm would be, an all Big 12 plus receiver at tight end, if not for Jatavian Sanders.
Yeah.
That's the level he was recruited at. It's just that the best tight end in the country, or in the state was recruited ahead of you, right? And you guys are close together. But using them both now in our 12 personnel sets, it's been great to see Gunnar come along. Jaden Blue, to me, has shown the importance to the offensive line of why it's important to be good at run blocking, because now they see true home run speed. No disrespect to anybody else that's running the ball or has run the ball at Texas in the last couple years, because we've had obviously some great ones. Jaden Blue raw speed is a different type of home run threat. And
Yes.
the offensive line realizes now, especially that he's played, oh, if he hits a crease, he's gone. Like, he's like track fast, right? And he gets to acceleration at like as quick as possible. So just having a weapon like that back there, because when you talk to some of the offensive linemen, they used to say that even with Bijan, like, you get a little bit more excited to block, because it's like, wow, this guy's amazing. But with Jaden Blue, it's like a straight little crease. It's creases. If he has a crease, he's gone. You won't see him. He's not dancing back there. Also, he's surprised me with his ability to consistently run with power. He runs it with enough power to where he's not a scat back type guy, which is really, really impressive. Oklahoma State was Quinn's boogeyman nightmare game in 2022. And he ended up having his MVP breakout performance in 2023 against Oklahoma State. I'm putting that out there, and Xavier Worthy's going to be okay. I know he finished the game with an injury. He'll be fine. He has 28 days on that ankle. He'll be good. Washington was the crap game for Worthy last year.
It's his turn.
It's
to
his
get
turn.
back at him. Yep.
It's just like the last game was the Quinn game to get back from your crappy performance. Like, Washington will be Worthy's get back moment. And like you said, we already know it doesn't need to be said what A.D. Mitchell brings to you in the playoffs. We already know where he's in the playoffs and Georgia isn't. Think about that.
Wow.
So, fellas, I appreciate y'all so very much. Thank you for this time, this stream. It's been so fun having y'all on, throughout the weeks of this season. It's been a good luck charm. The first year I bring y'all on, we go to the playoffs. So that means the connection.
Keep it rolling.
Yeah, really.
The connection's we've been waiting. We've been waiting. So,
Oh yeah.
man, you guys subscribe, hit the like button. Shout out to Chris and Vashon from Unfiltered Longhorn Talk on Facebook. Go subscribe to their group. They're wild in there, but they have fun. And right now, just talking about with fellow fans across all sorts of different generations. So thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Remember, horns, gotta get in the camera. Horns always up. Hook 'em.